Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Liam and Davis and Liam, if you're more of an alphabetical type of guy, here to talk about the NFL, best ball, fantasy football. We got a lot of news to get to, along with doing best ball drafts. The combine is in the books. I am way more up to date on the rookies. Deebo Samuel, since we've last talked, is a Commander. Would argue that is the nut landing spot. Davante Adams cut yesterday. And Matthew Stafford, of course, was not traded. That was some fan fiction. February fan fiction. That's what I call that. You know, every year you get some February fan fiction. Lamar, a Falcon, February fan fiction, you know, so.
Well, he could have been. He could, if the Falcons wanted him, if the Falcons had offered him the contract, he could have been. And I don't think the Stafford thing wasn't fan fiction. His people wanted the market to believe that he would leave because he wanted more money. The Rams didn't want to give it to him.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense though, like from a logical perspective, where you think about the Rams and you think about the fact that they were, you know, a couple plays away from the Super Bowl. You think about the fact that they're
not a couple plays away from the Super Bowl, a couple plays away from the conference championship.
Well, Super Bowl in my mind, but sure.
Would they have been favored against the Commanders? That's a good question.
I don't think they would have been, but I think they would have won. Let me put it that way. I don't think they would have been favored, but I think they would have won. Just be, you know, and I love Jaden Daniels. Like maybe he could have ran for 150 yards himself, but anyways, just to finish the Rams point, the defensive line especially really gelled. So they have one of the rarest things in football, which is like a young, good D-line. You got Stafford, who's only got a couple of years left. McVay, who maybe only has a couple of years left. Where was Stafford going to go and compete for a Super Bowl? Like, he's not doing it just for money at this point. Really don't think you can go wrong between Amon-Ra and Brian Thomas. I have Brian Thomas straight up over Neighbors with the Stafford not going to be a giant. If Stafford was a giant, I would probably put Neighbors 105, 106, something like this. But, you know, the possibility of it being Shadur, who might not even be a second-round pick, let alone a first-round pick, who knows?
See, that I think is fan fiction. I think the idea that Shadur is not going to go in round one is fan fiction. That seems like reading way too much into a couple scouts being like, "Oh, we think he's arrogant." Like the tape and the stats are like he's a better prospect than like Kenny Pickett or guys like that. I think he's actually pretty comparable as a prospect to Penix.
Davis, is it picking up your AirPod mic or your mic?
I bet it is. I bet it is picking up my wrong microphone. Yeah, it is.
So
there we go.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, right? Like, if Shadur's last name was whatever Smith and not Deion Sanders' son, would he be not getting as much scrutiny? You know, like that's
that's what I think it is. I think people don't like his dad. People resent that he's not nearly as good or as athletic as his dad. Like, it is strange that Deion Sanders' kid is not an athletic freak. You would think Deion's kid would be a guy who would, you know, be running all over the place and making these crazy athletic plays. Like, it doesn't make any sense that Deion's kid is basically Tua, you know?
Well, and that's, you know, if Shadur is a Bryce Young, is a Tua, that's not a top 10 pick. And I mean, I've went ahead and just ranked Dart straight up over him. Maybe that is wrong. But I think it's
defendable. Like, I certainly, I mean, I have far more Dart teams than I do Shadur teams, but it was also you like at the beginning for the first month of the big board, you could get Jackson Dart in the 19th round, and you can't really.
Yeah,
do
but
that
like
anymore.
you can still get him in like the 18th. So it's like it's not like he's now a 10th round pick, Dart. Now, if he goes top 16 in the draft, maybe, because every year Bo Nix, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Drake May, all these guys go high in the draft, and they're still 18th round picks, 17th round picks on Underdog, where quarterbacks typically go cheaper than on a DraftKings. So yeah, I don't know, man. The concern for Shedeur is like if he's a Giant, I'm actually a little bit into it just because anyone checking down to Neighbors could fall into some long touchdowns.
I mean, he's very, very accurate. He's just like a very accurate quarterback. His issue is the pressure to sack. He extends plays without being super athletic. So like when you want a guy extending plays, you want a guy extending plays and running and scrambling and doing stuff like that. And it's not really what he does. Enough. Enough.
I have to highlight anything saying that. Okay, so like what is the ceiling comp for him? When you say accurate, I think of Drew Brees. Like that's like the ceiling, not that intangible guy. You're hoping for that. What's a realistic comp? Like, when I think of accurate guys coming into the draft, touted that way, I think of the Bryce Youngs, I think of the Tuas. Like, these are what, basically game manager, get the ball in hands of playmakers type of guys. So what's the ceiling comp for him? And what do you think is, if you had to make a 1-to-1 comp, what would you do?
You know what's a good, and this is gonna be damning with faint praise, but you know what a good comp for him is Teddy Bridgewater. Like, not a total stiff in the pocket, can move around a little bit, but is not gonna add a ton with his legs. Could very easily complete 65% of his passes as a rookie. I mean, I would be very into Neighbors with Shedeur or Cam Ward. I think the issue with taking Neighbors as a round 1 pick right now is he's drawing pretty live for Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, Carson Wentz, like the total dregs tier of quarterback I think he's drawing. I wouldn't say that's the most likely outcome, but I think it's fairly live, which is you do not love that, in my opinion.
No, yeah, he has the most risk to me in the sense that, like, I mean, he's obviously an uber talented player, so you don't want to like microanalyze some of this stuff where it's like, if he had a good quarterback, again, we're talking 105, 106, 104, if not higher. But the possibility of just catastrophic downside quarterback play makes you a little uneasy.
Like Carson Wentz's name has been thrown out there as a name that teams are considering signing him as a starter this offseason. I mean, that would be any team that ends up on that is an abject disaster, dude.
I don't think that's happening. Like, mainly because I don't think Carson Wentz is getting a starting gig anywhere. Mainly because we literally saw this with Trubisky, where Trubisky did the 1 year behind Allen, then got a starting gig, and it didn't work, And so, and then you throw in the fact that you have Kirk Cousins, you have Rodgers, you have Russell Wilson, you have Justin Fields. Like, in what universe is someone choosing Wentz over them? Because he didn't even really get it's not like he got a couple games to show himself with the Chiefs team and look okay. He just backed him up. Pretty much, other than
he was bad in the game he did play.
Yeah, week 18 meaningless game, right? So I don't see that happening Wentz style. The room, I think it would be exciting if Cam Ward was a Giant. Like, I don't really see why the Titans would allow that. Like, if you're the Titans who has no quarterback at all, and a team is trying to trade up for Cam Ward, why would you not simply take Cam Ward? But let's pretend he is a Giant. Like, what do you view as, like, is Cam Ward going to be closer to Bryce Young, or is he going to be closer to CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels as a rookie as far as fantasy production?
Well, the deal with Ward is that he is capable of running. He didn't really run at all at Miami, but he did at Washington State. So I think you could get a little bit of that rushing production. It seems early on that I like Cam Ward more than consensus as like a real NFL quarterback. He just has, I don't know. There's like, he obviously has some.
What's his comps? Like, it, because I hear the rushing with him, but then
the best version of Geno Smith.
So like a more athletic rushing Geno Smith.
That is kind of the first comp that came to my head. Yeah. I frankly think Ward is, like, if I was the Giants, I would be trying to trade up for the number 1 pick, which is the most recent reporting. Ben Albright sent a tweet out, and then, a lot of the people returning back from the scouting combine in Indianapolis have been saying, yeah, the thing we heard is teams are hearing that the Giants want to trade up to 1. And someone just said it in the chat.
Yeah, but like, again, on my point, I'd be operating with the assumption at this time that Ward is a Titan, because I mean, what are they doing otherwise? Unless they're the Sam Darnold team. But like, that seems like a good way to get fired. Like, you draft Carter, you sign Sam Darnold, and you're not good enough.
Safest thing if you're a general manager and you do not want to be fired is to not take the quarterback.
I'm talking about the coach, though, I guess.
Well, I mean, the coach will just be an extension, and you could say, how could I possibly win with Will Levis? The thing is Sam Darnold is out there, and Darnold could give you pretty reasonable quarterback play. I mean, what did they win 13 games or whatever? I'm not a huge Darnold guy. Like, you should give him all this money, but I mean, 2 years, like, he's
clearly the best free agent. Clearly,
yeah. You could give Darnold 2 years, $80 million. So it's not a super long contract. It's basically a shorter version of the Baker Mayfield contract. I mean, that might be better. Frankly, if you're not sold on Ward, Shedeur, or Dart, that would be a less franchise destroying move. Would be 2 years, $40 million or $80 million for Darnold.
And the bigger thing is, like, if this Carter dude is actually Myles Garrett,
right?
Okay, like that. Hard to go wrong drafting a Hall of Fame edge rusher. Let's pivot over to Davante Adams. I mean, I think most people are going to assume that he's just going to 1-to-1 follow Rodgers. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe Davante is like, you know what, dude? I have like a year or two left in the NFL. I tried it with you. Let me go to Matt Stafford. Let me, opposite of Puka. That'd be pretty fun. Let me go to, I would say the Commanders is a little bit less likely because of Deebo, but also Deebo, like 5th round pick, whatever. Let me go to the Chiefs. Let me go be the Hopkins replacement, but actually probably good. Let me go play for the Ravens, whatever. The Chargers make sense for sure. What are you viewing as far as Davante, and would you assume he is, 80% or higher correlation with Rodgers at this point?
No, I think I wouldn't say 80, probably like 55, 60%, somewhere like the right side of the money line, like a -130 money line bet or whatever. I think Adams could be at a stage in his career where he's like, you know what I would like to do? I'd like to win. Davante Adams has never won anything in the National Football League. I believe he has played in 1 conference championship, the second to last Rodgers year when they lost to the Buccaneers. That was the only conference championship he's ever played in. you could definitely, and he's made a lot of money. Davante Adams has made a lot of money, and he's also put up some astounding numbers. So those are all the different motivations. Some guys get motivated by numbers, some guys get motivated by money. He's done both those things, right? So he took the money from the Raiders. The only thing he has not done is done the winning. So you could tell. What is an interesting one is the Chargers. The Chargers are like pretty ready to win a playoff game or two.
But I would if you're trying to win, are you really trying to go to the 5th best AFC team?
Well, the Chargers just they could do the two things is they have cap space, so they could pay him good money and also set him up to win. Oh, there you go. Zach said in an interview, Adam said he would take less stats to go play with Lamar. So there you go.
Yeah, well, that and when I say with the Chargers is the biggest issue for them is the Bills still exist, the Chiefs still exist, the Ravens still exist, and I would put the Bengals at worst as the 4th best team, regardless of how bad their defense was.
So this right here, insane, or not insane, but it's a pretty big overreaction to the combine, being able to get Caleb Johnson in the 7th. I moved him down in my rankings, but I did not move him this far down in my rankings. Like that is really light.
I think I actually maybe moved him up because as far as hitting a Saquon Barkley or the year Jonathan Taylor was the RB2, let me make a pick here. I have this extended across multiple monitors for display purposes.
Wow.
So it's hard for me to look at my team. I guess we'll go Baker to Mike. Why not? It's never anything I want to do here, but also this range is somewhat gross. Anyways, as far as hitting the Saquon or JT, something I mentioned on stream yesterday, like the guys who can just house 80-yard touchdowns, be truly the 101s in fantasy. Yes, being an elite athlete helps. As far as being a Josh Jacobs, a Bucky Irving, a Kyron Williams, these guys all had bad RAS profiles. And Caleb Johnson's a big dude. A 4.57's not terrible. So it will be landing spot dependent for him, in my mind.
Well, he's definitely a loser in the aggregate because this class was so strong. There were, I believe, 8 running backs who tested above a 115 speed score. The guys at Fantasy Points have a metric that they call it's slightly different. It's called SPORK, which is like a slightly adjusted spark. And this class had, what was it? It was 10 of the 15 best ever scores came from this class or something. I forget the exact stat, but it's pretty crazy. So Caleb Johnson had a totally fine combine. Like Caleb Johnson in last year's class might have even, I probably would have been the first running back off the board with like Benson.
He's not going to be a first round pick, but he'll probably be a second round pick.
Yeah. So part of the reason why I was so big on him was I was like, I actually, after Genty, I liked his profile more than the Ohio State guys and even a little bit more than Hampton. But it's just not going to happen. Like Hampton.
I mean, you don't know, because there's some wild card teams out there that will say F the standard, aka the Chargers. The Chargers might be like, whatever, this is our dude, and take him in the first regardless. Like if Harbaugh's like, hey, this is our guy, we're gonna give him 250 carries a year for 5 years. I need this dude. They're going to be like, okay, sure, dude. Like he'll be there in the second, but okay. Right. So
I think he'll be
a second.
I think he'll be a second round pick, but before I thought there was quite a good chance he was going to be a first round pick. Cause I actually, of all the non-Genty guys, I liked him the best. I thought his statistical profile was dude. This is crazy. He had more scrimmage yards his final season at Iowa than the team had passing yards. He had 1,950 scrimmage yards, and the team had 1,800 passing yards. He was so good at Iowa. He led all of college football in breakout breakaway percentage, so highest percentage of his runs over 15 yards, and he led all of college football in broken tackles or missed tackles forced, which is just it's a crazy profile. So I think oh no,
let's see if I can pull this up on Twitter because I think I was
glitching out his RAS. His RAS was
the
okay.
site doesn't work for me. Am I back now?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. At 224 pounds, a 4.58, a 1.6. This was officially a 4.57. Like, this is totally fine. This is, like Bucky Irving dreams of being this, who, by the way, is going as like a 3rd round pick in fantasy. Josh Jacobs dreams of being this, who, he is actually less athletic at a slightly smaller weight. So, like most of the running backs, it will be landing spot dependent. Of course, Omarion Hampton, the clear RB2 in the class, he is probably a more likely guy to be the Chargers pick, the Broncos pick. Unlikely for the Vikings in my mind, but small possibility there. Henderson and Judkins, are we thinking they could sneak into the back end of the first? The teams there don't make sense for me because it's like I don't see the Bills doing it. Maybe the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs. I mean, frankly, I think the Chiefs are going to sign Najee or Javonte or Rico Dowdle or one of these guys just to piss me off. So Judkins, I was actually lower than consensus on for a little bit, but man, Judkins running, what was it, a 4.38? I think he ran, or a 4.42 or whatever. But and he had also had crazy broken tackles, and stuff. But someone's asking a question about RAS here. Like the thing is when you get the good RAS mixed with the good production, including receiving production, and you get draft capital, that's why people are so. That's why like every streamer and everyone's always talking about this rookie class, because this class has athletes with production, and athletes who are, because the free agent running back class is so bad. Like when Najee Harris is the headliner of a free agent running back class, I mean, wouldn't you, instead of signing Najee Harris to any money, wouldn't you just simply rather be like, all right, let's just draft Travion Henderson. Let's just draft Bashal Tootin instead of fucking with this.
So there's a couple things that could happen here. Number one, Tootin, he's drawn very live to be like an Isaac Garendo, aka back of the 4th, 5th round pick, who is just going as a 10th round pick at the moment. Maybe he gets the draft capital. Probably not.
I think he will. I'm pretty convinced. I think he will get the draft capital, but I've been wrong on those things before.
We'll see. The other thing that could happen is with such a quantity of running backs that teams will be comfortable with, does this mean that actually, compared to a different class, will some of these running backs fall draft capital wise just because people are like, they're all still on the board? Now, usually what we see when this happens is a run happens, just like in fantasy drafts, right? Where it's like the first team to take, Hampton or Henderson will then trigger Judkins, will then trigger Caleb Johnson, will then
I think
whatever.
It'll be like what happened last year when it was like Benson, Corum, Bucky, all real quick.
It was like Bucky, and then it was Ray Davis, Garendo, Braylon Allen, like all of them. Like those two went at the top of the 3rd, which should, like, both of them were getting talks like they could have been better. So that should have been concerning, I guess, a little bit.
So I think that probably won't happen in the first round. What I think will happen, and I don't even think it'll be Caleb Johnson. I think it'll be Damian Martinez, Tootin, Scattaboo, Devin Neal, DJ Giddens. Like take your pick of like whatever order you rank those guys in, and then I think we might see 8 guys go in the 3rd round. Really, I do. That is my true truth serum opinion.
Yeah, and like there are some teams, like Buffalo's an example, where they have 10 draft picks in this class. They're taking a running back.
Cleveland has 9.
Yeah, like when you just have a bunch of like 3rd to 6th round picks, you're just gonna take one of like, so that would make me think Ty Johnson's not a Bill. You know, when you have so many picks, you're like, yeah, I might as well take a running back here. By the way, I was trying to set up Kelsey here. Maybe I should have gone Kelsey first. I didn't really like the Mahomes pick, but I never really feel like taking like Rashid Shaheed, Darnell Mooney, Cup in the 8th.
Shaheed, I do like. Actually, he's kind of like that. Remember the
Are
2
you
years
thinking
ago
that he's starting week 1 no matter what? Because that's the dude got hurt last year. If it was healthy Shaheed, I'd be into it.
I think I just don't really care at that stage. I mean, he had surgery on October 17th for his meniscus, and he has already, the most recent update I read was that he is already, like doing his rehab or whatever. I don't know if he'll be ready week 1 or whatever. In fact, probably basically as your wide receiver 5, I don't think it really matters. Like if you need your wide receiver 5, obviously having your wide receiver 5 contribute scores in the first month of the season, that's great, but that's not necessarily why you're drafting him.
Yeah, he's a week winner for sure. Do I go 4 QB, stack up Michael Penix? Definitely not. But Cam Scatterbo, I think he's just getting a little lost in the sauce as far as
he's unclickable to me right now.
You think? I've heard some rumors that the Chargers could be into him because he's like a stocky small guy.
Well, everyone assumed he was going to run a 3.62 or a 4.62. So how bad does his 40 have to be if everyone thinks you're going to be slow to not run? You know what I'm saying? That's a real Windhorst situation. Like if everyone thinks you're going to be slow as fuck and you do the jumps, because he did the vert and his vert and its broad jump were very good. But I took Scatterbo early when he was right about like the running back 40. I'd taken him and Neal early. And now I'm like, well, I've got enough. Enough. I'm ready.
You're bored with him. I don't think
they were bad prices, I think.
Maybe. I could see him sneaking into the 3rd, but perhaps not. What I think will happen for sure is I think this Caleb Johnson plus tier will all get pretty good draft capital. And then, a team's got to be really in love with the Tutons of the world, the Scatterbos, the Devin Neals, the whatever, to Ollie Gordon's definitely a loser. RJ Harvey's
Ollie Gordon, massive.
I got
loser.
Him a little bit.
He wasn't that bad at the combine, but again, anyone who was kind of borderline and did not have a good combine is a loser because it's just less likely that they get the draft capital that we want.
The combine has changed, to Neil's point here, where like the GPS data is a big thing. Not that we always have that publicly, but
yeah, the miles per hour and stuff. I mean and some teams are going to use that.
But anyways, what I think what happened is like these other guys, they're all gonna fall just a little bit. The hope for Tootin is that he's Achane, but how many people?
He basically matched Achane's combine, but at
a bigger weight,
at 208 pounds instead of 182 pounds. So, and I just wanted on the record, I had 14% of Tootin before the combine. Like I thought he was a pretty good prospect anyway. So it's not just the combine. He had 94% of Virginia Tech's running back rushing production as a true junior his final season. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like a lot of these dudes, it's going to be landing spot dependent. Like Achane on the Cowboys would maybe have been still behind, Zeke. just because like it's the Cowboys, right? I do think, yeah, like where he's going though, there's not a lot of downside in the 13th round anyways. I did backdoor a stack with Mahomes, so not really my favorite to go triple quarterback, but hey, gotta starve the beast and kill the draft occasionally. What do you view on Henderson and Judkins? You think they sneak into the back end of the first, early second?
They both feel like potential first round picks, just kind of depending on what.
I mean, are we getting 4 running backs in the first? I'm not going to say. Hey, Saquon just got $40 million.
I was going to say, it's such a copycat league where, like, the guy just commented, don't you think the amount of decent prospects at the running back position will push more running backs to day 2 to day 3? I actually literally think, I think it's going to do I think it's going to be the opposite of that. I think it's going to be the actual opposite of that. I think these teams are going to have their favorites. They're going to be like, oh, we love this guy. We don't like, and also it's we just saw this happen. So now we have to do, like, the NFL is such a copycat league. There's a team out there, and this is insanely dumb, and you're not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but there are going to be teams that think this way. They're going to be like, oh, I mean, look what Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, and Barkley did for their teams. We need that. That's our next step as a team. We need that guy on our team.
Yeah, I think teams are smart enough to realize that they don't have the Eagles roster. They don't have Lamar. It's not like they couldn't view Derrick Henry with the Titans the year before Lamar, Saquon with Daniel Jones the year before. They're not going to be like, yes, we now are the Eagles roster, or we are Lamar. Like, they realize that the running back is helpful when they're elite, but it takes a roster. So that's my thoughts there. Got a 3-4-6-1 brewing. Amon-Ra, London, Big Mike, Bateman, Leggett, Hollywood, K-Dot and Ray Davis, Henderson, Walker, Chase Brown, Mayfield, Mahomes, Goff. Killing them at quarterback. Davis, what you cooking up?
I've got Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. Running back room, Josh Jacobs, Caleb Johnson, Najee Harris, Tyler Algier. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Jaden Reed, Rashid Shaheed, David Njoku, and Jake Ferguson.
Brother, you got to give it up on the Najee, man. You should just take Tootin straight up over Najee. That's my advice to you.
Tootin was gone.
No, he went pick 145. Najee went pick 115.
Oh. Well, I guess I have Najee ranked ahead of Tootin, but
I probably do too. But like, honestly, if you made me just like take one draft, who would I rather hitch my wagon to? It'd be the dude who can maybe be Achane rather than Najee. So what could Najee be, man?
Najee could be Joe Mixon.
No, we're not. You might, Chad.
Yeah, Najee will be 195 carries, 913 rushing yards, 32 receptions for 212 yards and 8 total touchdowns or something. Did they even have RAS? Yeah,
this is Joe Mixon's RAS. Joe Mixon is a 9.46 RAS guy. What? Someone had me rolling on stream yesterday because they said Najee's an elite RAS guy. Look at Najee's RAS.
No, Najee is
terrible. This is Najee's RAS profile.
That's really funny. Najee is he's a terrible player. I don't disagree with this in any sense. He has never had this is actually true. He's never gained over 40 yards on one play.
Yeah, ever.
Yeah. He's a truly terrible football player, but some team's going to give him the ball 237 times or whatever.
I don't think so, man. I don't maybe the Cowboys in a sad season would do it. They'd be like, "Hey, dude, you can come be Zeke for us." I don't know. I just like the influx of the rookies. People will prefer Rico Dowdle over him. He's going to be like Tyler Algier before we know it. Where you're like, hey, this dude's a backup. The Bears traded for 2 guards in quick succession. One of them being the Chiefs guard, who's 32, Tooney. They also traded for Jonah Jackson. So clearly they are making the O-line, Ben Johnson's trying to make the team in his mind. Tooney screams, we're running the ball. That's kind of what he does well.
I mean, Tooney is just unbelievable. Like as a Chiefs fan, like I get it. Like they basically
pay a lot of guys.
They just they don't play guys. They do not. I looked this up. Since Veach has been the GM, I believe Kelsey is the only player over the age of 31 that they have paid above positional average at their position for. It's like they just do not want old guys. It sucks, but it is what it is.
They gotta pay their tackles too, and
they don't have a left tackle.
They're gonna find one, but he's 32. You can definitely get elite play at guard till like 34, 35.
Well, and they paid the other guard. They paid Trey Smith because he's younger.
Yeah, regarding the Bears though, like even if you only get 1 year out of Tooney, I think it's worth it for Caleb.
Well, they're gonna have to extend him, but I think these are great moves by the I think these are good moves by the Bears because what are you gonna do? You're gonna do the run back Caleb Williams with the worst offensive, like this miserable offensive line, and then you're just like, oh, Ben Johnson stinks and Caleb it's just like I think these are good moves.
No, they're great moves for the Bears, and everyone's going to assume Gene T to the Bears, which is possible. I also think they are a dark horse team to draft Tet McMillan and just go with Caleb, DJ Moore, and Rome. Like that sounds pretty effing good to me, having 3 top 10. Like if we think Tet McMillan is like Drake London-y, you replace Keenan with him, you draft Caleb Johnson in round 2, you fill out the O-line, you are set at quarterback and wide receiver for a decade. Ben Johnson's no stranger to having lots of weapons. They also obviously make sense to go with one of the best O-linemen at their pick there. So feels good for the Bears. I just went with Harold Fannin, which Harold Fannin, minor loser to some people combine wise.
Really depends on your perspective.
Yes.
Like I think you could make whatever argument. I mean, he did not run very fast, but he was never going to run really fast.
What I like about him is he had an elite 3 cone time, and
it would have been good for a wide receiver. It would have been it would have been fine for a wide receiver. So I agree. It was like 6.87.
Yeah, 6.97, I think.
Yeah, he was a guy I drafted. He was a guy I drafted a ton early. I mean, he does not look all that agile when you're watching him play, but it is.
I mean, the reason why Will Dissly, despite being terribly RAS profile, which is rare, was okay last year is because Will Dissly actually has an elite RAS too. He has like a 6.97. So
yeah,
it's gonna be landing spot dependent for him. I definitely would rather take the vets, Hunter Henry and Freiermuth, over him, but it seems like a worthy stab there to me. What else do you want to say from the combine? Obviously, Golden is a big winner. We've not really talked about the fallout of Deebo and the 49ers guys. I moved Jennings up. I moved Pearsall up. I moved Ayuk a little bit down. I still, if I know I'm getting Ayuk week 6+, I'm like 100%ing it at price.
What if he's not a 49er though? What about these reports? Do you believe is that more fan fiction? The reports that they're thinking about trading him?
I don't know, honestly, because I think the 49ers are looking themselves in the mirror and realizing that their window has passed. Like, I mean, if they're going to trade Ayuk, they might as well trade CMC for peanuts too, because like, what's the plan? You know, like I think they have at least
we would
more
take
year.
we would take him in Kansas City, Christian, if you want to.
Yeah, a third or something. Like, look, Ayuk is definitely the Squidward meme of looking at Deebo on the Commanders after he was the one FaceTiming him last year.
Well, he was college teammates with Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
That's by the way, that's how old Jaden Daniels is, that he was college teammates with a guy who's on his second NFL contract.
Something that had me audibly laughing this morning is I took a peek at the Athletics top 150 free agents. Free agent 17, Juwan Johnson. Man, I really hate that I just flashed my rankings because just got sniped on a guy.
It's a bad free agency class.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Michael Wilson's
Juwan Johnson is just going to be a Denver Bronco. So if you want to be stacking Bo Nix with a tight end, I would do it with Juwan Johnson.
Let's do this.
I by the way am fine with the contract that Purdy is about to get. I think that's now shifted to an unpopular opinion, but I think I'm now more pro Purdy than the market.
I don't think that opinion's unpopular. So what else would they do, you know?
Eventually, some team will say, we're not paying you. Some team will say to their Tua, to their Purdy, to their Jared Goff,
and someone else will pay them.
Say, well, sure, someone will. But you said, what do you do? And the answer is you don't pay him.
Yes, one person in a decade from now will have enough job security that they're willing to pass on. Like, I would say the most damning counter argument to you is that Mike McDaniels didn't say no to Tua. Mike McDaniels, you think
really
of
should have.
Yeah, but you think of him of a guy that has some job security, and you know, like, and also the Dolphins stunk without Tua, so not that they're good enough with.
I think Mike McDaniel might be a little bit of a fraud too, because like the whole thing with his offense should be like
he was figured out last year. He was definitely figured out last year.
You should be able to get Tyler Huntley to run this offense, and he couldn't.
So where did you pin down on Davante Adams landing? You have to bet one team.
Rams.
Yeah, that one sounds fun to me. It just makes a lot of sense too. You just like
he said he wanted to play. I'm basically he wants to play on the West Coast. So yeah, it's like Chargers or Rams. Those are your options.
You have an easier chance of winning the Super Bowl with the Rams just because you have an easier chance of getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I like just as a free agent, you should just be like, I'm not playing in the AFC. Regardless of any of the teams. Doesn't matter if it's Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, whatever. It's just so much harder to get to.
If you're an older one, like if you're a younger guy hitching your wagon to a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, a Mahomes, sounds pretty good to me, you know?
Yeah.
There are rumors Dallas Goedert could be cut from the Eagles. Those are pretty nonsensical to me. I think he'll be restructured.
They save like no money cutting him. They save like $700,000 cutting him.
Yeah. I put Loveland straight up over Tyler Warren. I don't know how you're viewing that. I think Tyler Warren's ADP is kind of egregious. Some of this stuff's going to be so landing spot dependent, but I don't know.
I mean, the big rumor is that the Colts want Tyler Warren, so you're just like you're punching air. If he's a Colt, you're just like, fuck, all those Tyler Warren teams are dead. But at the same time, everyone said like the gut reaction was, oh, Bowers to the Raiders is as bad as it gets. And sometimes, guys are just absolute superstars. No, I don't think Tyler Warren is in the same stratosphere as Bowers. He was literally Theo Johnson's backup at Penn State. So That is not what you want. You know, Bowers at 17 was dominating the SEC, and Tyler Warren was blocking. You know, he's a fullback. But
what was I gonna say? Senior moment here, blanking. Oh, Daniel Jones. Rumor is that he's going to be a Colt. So you roll with Richardson and Jones.
The other report was that the Colts were looking at Trey Lance.
It's the same thing, I guess, as Daniel Jones at this point.
Well, I think if you sign Daniel Jones or Trey Lance, you sign them because you say, oh, this is a quarterback competition, and it's just clearly not a quarterback competition, right? Because you do that, and then you set that up for Anthony Richardson to win because those guys are so bad.
I would say on Warren, maybe just a little bit more than Loveland. Like the fact he didn't test too is, I mean, he has, I guess it can be argued as nothing to gain. But wow, the 17th best free agent, 19th round pick. Pretty good pick.
Pretty good pick. I think Juwan Johnson. I think Juwan Johnson is a good pick right now.
Yeah, I do too. I view him as Noah Fante. We all have different guys we like there. But I don't know. It's like, look, Tyler Warren, if you want to make yourself a top 10 pick, go prove that elite Raz. Like
he probably wouldn't have had a crazy Raz.
Which is, a little cause for concern.
I mean, it's not great. Like we do know Raz, like athleticism, tight end is one of the positions where there is a direct correlation between athleticism and fantasy points. But
yeah.
Bowers,
everyone knows it.
Bowers didn't do shit at the combine, because he didn't have to.
Yeah, but he's not like Warren's just not in that same camp.
I do think Tyler Warren is very good and very likely to be a first round pick. The concern that I have with Loveland is he's kind of like an awkward fit because he's a huge guy.
He's a big boy, so he can block. So he's like the
but
Trey
he's
McBride,
not a good
Bowers.
But he's not a good blocker.
So what?
You would think he was a really good blocker, but he was. Let me pull up his actual grades right now because I remember looking it up and being stunned that his run blocking stuff was no good. So his run blocking grade at Penn State was 53.3. Which
I don't, when you play in college, like if the dude doesn't want to block in college, they're going to learn how to do it in the NFL. The coach is going to sit them down and be like, dude, you're a pro. Here's the technique. And they're going to drill it with them until they do it good.
I mean, I would think if you want to get, I just timed out. Who did I take?
I think you got a good pick. Ibsen in my mind.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe, by the way, good or bad pick? People are talking about him. This guy just took him in the 20th
round. I think is totally fine.
No, but in your hearts, is he starting?
He's definitely not starting week 1. Like 2% chance he's starting week 1.
So
week 17, who could say?
Okay, so this is like drafting the Saints guy.
Rattler.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. But will be a very good, like he's sick for fantasy. I think he had a 200-yard rushing game last year. I don't know, here, just for example, let me pull up his 2024 game logs. He had a 12...
Davis, did you get in this? Go. I think there's a delay. Did you get in that? Were you the last one?
7 more.
Fuck you, dude.
Here. Are you in this next one?
Yeah. But you're making me multi-table.
Tough. Sorry.
I thought you had
have
Hawkeye.
Have the two tabs open.
I'm gonna put my StreamYard down here and just share the whole screen.
Yeah. So just for example, Milroe against LSU. So not like not against like Mercer. 12 rushes, 185 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. Just for example, like not a particularly great passer, but like an athlete, like a good, strong. I can see why a team would want, like, Milroe should be on every team's board as a 3rd round pick. In my opinion. I just think that's the type of guy you want to get in your building.
All right, I gotta workshop this for a second to see what is going to be best here for viewing.
The old multi-table. That was my fault. I wasn't checking the private chat.
I should have. It's a little on me too. Did you get in the? Did I not get in your draft?
Did you not? I'm at the 1.6. Are you not in this one?
I jumped in 2 drafts back to back, and I got in.
No, you're shit. Here.
What are we doing?
All right. Well, I guess this is the one that is not getting streamed, and I just got Justin Jefferson at 6.
The people watching this show, this is your fault. I guess we'll just share a single draft for mine.
Sure.
And
when it's time, we will go over after these are done. We'll go over my final one. Huge mistake for Big Board 96. You hate to see it.
Retitle this a calamity.
A calamity.
All right, let's see. Let me share actually the other screen. Sorry, guys. Thanks for holding with us. Basically, Davis and I try to jump in drafts together and do it. It was a little on me jumping in right away as Davis was mid-thought. Yeah, I would put that mostly on me.
Yeah, I just need one canceled draft. Yeah. Yeah, missing my 150 streamed on a clerical error. You hate to see it. No, we will go back at the end and I will go through all my picks. I shared the screen with Liam, so when he gets through these two, I like that move, by the way, at the turn there of doing the double running back, of doing A-Chain McCaffrey, Genty McCaffrey, Henry Genty, whatever you want to do, because if you get lucky at 36, 37, you can do Worthy Evans. Like a lot of times you can get a strong pick there.
I think so. It feels good in the sense that you could be landing the RB1 and RB2. It feels bad in the sense that typically the wide receivers around 3 and 4 have, they don't feel quite as good. I mean, they feel fine. Like Jameson Williams, I'm totally fine with. I still think I prefer Williams over Worthy, but I don't like Rice. I'm hearing some positive news on them.
No, I have Rice. I have Rice like 10 spots below ADP or whatever.
I have him buried in my rankings too, but I'm just saying like the recent, whoever's the dude who works with Underdog now, is it Albert Breer or something like that?
James Palmer.
Different one, actually. I think they were just interviewing him, but he said that, and who knows, like he's just guessing stuff, but basically he gave a positive Rice impression. I've still yet to draft him a lot. Who's that guy? Belichick?
Yeah, Liam, this is the screen you should keep up. This screen right here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll show Davis's for 5 seconds. Boom, Davis's shared stream.
There we go. I took Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson together off stream. How about that?
Wow. Just like I think you guys had the only team in the main event one year like that.
2 years ago, we had the only Henry Jefferson team in the whole thing, and it didn't even make the league playoffs.
I think actually, were we in that same league against you? Is maybe why I knew that.
We were definitely in. You and Ron and Jacob, I think, were all in. No, Liam, me, you, and
Kyle
were all in one that they streamed, and we won the league.
Yeah, me, Ron, and Jacob tend to do good. We had a big debate on Terry McLaurin and Brock Bowers, and two guys I was both into, and they both were good picks. What I didn't agree with, though, is we went Terry, and then they made us go Kyler, and I was like, guys, let's go Jaden Daniels.
On the on my team, I have Henry Jefferson.
What do you mean? There's nothing on screen.
They want to see it. You got to just choose one. Actually, I lied. You got to just do a draft.
Oh, they want to see the
They
I'm gonna go back and forth.
They want to see a draft board.
I agree with that. I'm gonna show them both draft boards.
The fourth round is so dead. The fourth round is as bad as it gets. Like to me, I get on the fourth round and I'm just like, wow, I hate all these picks. Like enough that I'm like, you want to start taking Amari and Hampton in the fourth round, fine by me. Oh, they're saying for whatever reason on their end, the screen was blank.
I just went with the Lamar Jaden duo because why not, baby? I've officially ranked Josh Allen as QB3 as well. Just seems logical to me.
I mean, I have all the quarterbacks ranked after ADP, which you could argue is incredibly smooth-brained. I would accept that, honestly, as a criticism. Like, there are outs to all of them being the guys that you need. But right now, just like, I don't know, for me, you get to round 17, 18, 19, 20, and I'm like, there just are no points here. There are just no points to be found here. So I want running backs and wide receivers there. Even I don't like the Bowers McBride builds. Like I love in a vacuum Bowers and McBride, but then I just end up hating either my wide receivers or my running backs when I do that.
Here's what I'll say. In general, it does feel like the best quote unquote value is these quarterbacks, Mahomes to
that window in round 8 and 9. Like that's where you want quarterbacks, in my opinion.
But the best thing about the elite quarterbacks, outside of them being the guys that can get you 40 points in a playoff week and single-handedly advance you or win you the contest. Like you weren't winning last year without Burrow or Jaden, right? Week 17, both these guys dropped 30 to 40 points. But the other best thing about them is when you think of hitting league winners, a.k.a. Kyron Williams, a.k.a. Bucky Irving, a.k.a. Puka Nacua, there's probably not a lot of these guys, if any, but there's absolutely no Lamars, no Jaden Daniels, no Josh Allen at the end of the draft. So if you're trying to think about how do you build the best overall team, it would be to take one of the elite guys who you know is elite and then to simply draft the league winners.
Yeah, Liam, I frankly think this is so unbelievably bad, but like, I don't know, whatever. If you do one of 150, but
I don't think you were listening at all because I could see your eyes. So repeat to me what I said as far as what's bad.
There's just no way to take two quarterbacks in your first 4 picks and have it make any sense.
Not what we said at all. Not what was being talked about at all. Taking a single elite quarterback. I'm showing you this, so that's the only thing you are listening to.
Taking a single elite quarterback is fine.
Let's repeat the point. Let's repeat the point. This time, listen. As far as making the best overall roster, it is to take a single elite quarterback and simply draft the league winner players because the league a Josh Allen, a Jaden, a Lamar does not exist at the end of drafts.
It did last year.
I know you saw this, and so this is what you focused on, but
I think the single elite quarterback stuff is bad anyway, like as the base build. Like if you
it feels bad because you can get Mayfield, Mahomes, Goff. But as far as building the nutted roster, it would be to hit a single elite quarterback and simply draft the best players from there, in my opinion.
Well, what is more, I guess I would say, what do you think is more identifiable as a league winner? Because all you need is the one trait. You just need to find the recipe is very simple. It's quarterback that's cheap that runs, and then they run hot on rushing touchdowns, right? So as long as that archetype exists, that is the easiest way to find league winning production at a discount. Don't you think?
As far as like, as far as like what I want to be doing, because I feel like it's chalk good to advance, it's taking these mid-range quarterbacks. But again, if you want to show up with the best overall number one sim team week 17, it's you hit on a Josh, Lamar, Jaden, whoever's going to score the most points that week, Burrow, Hurts, whatever. And then you simply hit the league winning talent with your rest of your picks. If they exist, which they don't always year to year. I was a teacher that taught chess.
Wouldn't you say the team that would sim better would be the team that hits on Anthony Richardson starting?
No.
Justin Fields is starting, and then you also pair that with Mike Evans.
It depends. Like, again, it's not that likely. But if a Puka, if a Tank Dell, if a Bucky Irving, if a Kyron, if enough of these dudes exist, so in this year,
yes, if you happen to just pick the guy that you needed that year, sure. I just disagree. You could tell me that's a team that is really likely to win, but as far as a team that would actually sim well, you would want the high projected skill position player because the sims are going to have a relatively flat and equal distribution among ceiling projections for the quarterbacks because their scoring is so event-based. It's not iterative. It's basically quarterbacks get between 18 and 24 in underdog scoring as their base projection, and then
I guess I'm talking
add
ceiling
on touchdowns
sim.
across that.
As far as like feeling like you have the best roster, it would be to have an elite quarterback and to simply draft the best players in every given round. Not saying this is an easy task, but when you're trying to win a very big contest, right? Like I've not been drafting many elite quarterback teams at all, but I do want to be doing it some and just trying to hit who I think can be the best player in a given round. So that means what you do there is you steer away from the guys who are going to be doubles in sync, like Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings is probably going to be a very nice pick, right?
Yeah,
probably going to be.
But you're so right. I mean, he's likely to be a double.
Yeah, he's whereas like Chris Godwin has some downside, but he could be, the number one guy in fantasy again, for all we know. Matthew Golden. The issue for Matthew Golden is like if he is Justin Fields wide receiver 2, that is a death sentence, right? My God, this team is so bad. I won with the one. All right, we got frozen on wideout, so we have a choice here.
Take another quarterback, dude.
We're gonna stop at. We're gonna do Aaron Jones. We're going to do. I'm tempted to stop at 4 running. Yeah, let's just do Jalen and stop at 4. So we're gonna deal with the issue with quantity. Juwan Jennings anchor team ?
You hit a double.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my case, that double is needed. This is a more standard good team. I autoed Kittle on this one. Kittle just seems like he's being forgotten about a little bit, especially with the steam that, like, I mean, Deebo was just traded, Ayuk was traded, and Kittle's sliding in markets.
Yeah.
You know. No, I don't think the double elite quarterback is a great build, guys, but gotta have some fun out here.
I mean, basically, like, we have the math based on historical results to know what's good or bad. It doesn't mean, technically, people forget Jennings does have a 50-point upside. So
12 for sure.
We have the math to know what has historically been good or bad. Now, that is descriptive analysis, not predictive analysis, because seasons change. I mean, a lot of the things that we thought were bad ended up not being bad last year because every good wide receiver died. 35% of wide receivers drafted in the top 100 picks spent time on IR. Only one running back drafted in the top 100 picks spent any time on IR. So it's not to say that the historical data is always going to be helpful, but in terms of roster distributions and constructions, we have a pretty good idea. And the double elite quarterback is not good. I mean,
the double elite quarterback
is
not really what we were talking about at all, or like what I was trying to talk to you when you were distracted. That's just something I happened to do and then bring up a separate point about.
But I also disagree. I also disagree with the second point, because we are talking about
it's not really disagreeable. If you could show up with the best players, would you you have the best running backs, wide receivers, tight end? Who would you want to be your quarterback there? That is what we're saying.
Well, sure, yes. If
I could quarterback to be Baker or Lamar.
Yeah, of course you would want that, but you can't do those things in isolation. Everything has a trade-off. There are incentives and consequences to each.
And there are also going to be some years where the 3/4 round gets decimated by injury. Mike Evans tears his ACL. Zay Flowers breaks his foot. Jameson Williams gets suspended. And you're like, thank God I simply took Jaden Daniels.
Well, actually, Liam, the argument that I thought you would be making, which is this is basically the argument that Gritty has made, although I'm giving you more credit than that.
I'm not arguing for the grit.
When you do take a high score, the best scenario you have when you take the quarterback in round 3 or round 4 is actually that they're kind of just okay in the regular season or even miss time with injury. But you hit on this year's Jaden Daniels, this year's Baker Mayfield, even Bryce Young from last year, right? Ended up having a bunch of those spike weeks in weeks that mattered. You get that guy helps you advance. Then all of a sudden you get Lamar Jackson in week 17, in week 16 as super low owned.
Yeah, it's all a question of what exists in the later rounds, right? So if there are guys who, if you want to use last year, if you happen to build a team that had Bucky Irving, Juwan Jennings, right? Who are Tyrone Tracy, etc. Then yeah, you could stomach an elite quarterback. Now, last year, obviously, Jaden Daniels existed. And so there's also assuming that when you take elite quarterback, that number one, like, of course, all of this range of quarterbacks, the Goff to Mahomes tier all the way down to Stroud, these could be the guys you need instead. And why I personally,
I would actually say that is favored, that one of those guys in that range,
because there's like 12 of them, right?
Right. And your opportunity cost is so much lower. Because, like, the thing when you take a guy in round 3 is you might be passing on the guy who you actually need. You might need Breece Hall this year to win. And it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and you might need Tony Pollard. Like, that argument goes both ways. Obviously, Breece Hall is favored because he's a higher pick.
Exactly. So your opportunity cost positionally is much higher.
So we gotta get third quarterback here. No, obviously we can't go Purdy.
No, come on, you got to do it. I think Hunter is like the exact way to dig yourself out of this, because he could be a 4th round pick
for this one too. My first team of Keon. The thing about Keon is I don't really love it from what I think is going to happen. stance, but he could have a breakout.
I mean, if you're playing a percentage game, second year breakout, first round wide receiver is like a good bet to make.
I put Hunter
with a good quarterback.
I put Hunter quite up in my rankings. Like we were talking about this last week, but simply a bet I want to be making, and especially in the big board, right? Like I can reevaluate post big board and be like, okay, whatever. But I'm still hearing discussions of like, oh, he'll moonlight. Of course, there's some GMs saying they view him as a wide receiver. But I don't know. When he's probably the best wide receiver in his class and he's going in like the 12th round, I just put him up into the 10th or whatever.
I mean, yeah, Pete just made that video yesterday about like how he's like the nutted pick. I mean, I think I'm somewhere in between. I mean, I think he's likely probably a very good selection. Just because so rarely do we get real asymmetric upside things like this. We're like, okay, he doesn't work out. Guess what? Your 11th round pick probably sucks on most of your teams anyway. But unlike Bateman or Mooney or even Mims, who I love, or Trey Harris or Stephon Diggs, without even a game being played, there's something that can happen that can make him he gets drafted by, let's call it the Patriots, and they say Travis Hunter's playing wide receiver first. He's going to be with the wide receivers in the wide receiver room. He's going to break out at we're playing him at wide receiver. Sure, he's going to get some DB snaps. He really wants to do that. We want to make him happy, but we think of Travis as a wide receiver first. He goes in the 6th round in Best Ball Mania.
Yeah, I still think the ambiguity will hover over him post-draft because the guy, whoever drafts him is going to be cagey about it. Let me see. What do I want to do here?
I feel like they'll probably say one way or the other. That feels most likely to me.
I don't.
Maybe like game to game, like that's something a coach would love to do. Like imagine like Kyle Shanahan with Travis Hunter. He would love to fucking lie before a game about like what they're doing with him. But like
what team do you think is most likely to play him as a wide receiver?
Patriots. They have a great cornerback already.
Do you think Vrabel? You think Mike Vrabel as a head coach is going to be like? I don't know. Like,
that's a good point. No, you make a good point.
Ignoring the head coach, maybe, but like Vrabel seems to me he's going to be like, no, dude, you got to learn corner. We'll let you get some snaps year 2. Yeah, right. Jacksonville, I agree. Jacksonville seems like a team.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's in a really nice place, man. I would argue.
Yeah.
And this feels pretty good. Just going Kirk in Hollywood and simply saying that these guys are going to be what they've been in years past as my wide receiver 4 and 5. It feels pretty decent.
Your wide receiver room is definitely not as bad as it could be. Like you have guys with real ceiling there. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Hunter, the best thing about him is he has single gain upside.
As Nick points out, I forgot this. Vrabel, a guy who played on offense as a defensive player.
Okay, we're pretending that the guy who like caught some touchdowns on 2 snaps.
And need I remind you, he was teammates with Troy Brown, who converted from defensive back to wide receiver.
You cite Cole Brown like once a show.
Troy Brown.
Troy Brown. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Troy Brown converted defensive back from Marshall University to teammates with Mr. Vrabel.
Yeah, I mean Kirk. The Jaguars are just in a real exciting spot. Number 1, winnable division. They got the head coach. Their quarterback gets healthy. And they have this top pick in a pretty good draft class. So
no, I think if the Jaguars can get like competent offensive line play, Trevor stays healthy, they're in such a weak division. I agree. They can do some fun stuff.
What round are you feeling Trey Harris for?
I don't love him, but he's fine there. Round 11 is fine. I meant
NFL round, not fantasy.
Oh, round two.
Yeah, and the thing about I feel pretty good about the early rookies. So I feel good about the Hendersons, the Caleb Johnsons, the Judkins of the world, etc. I still, a lot of these late rookies, they're going to be Malachi Corley. They're going to be
Trey Benson,
McCaffrey, Trey Benson,
Dylan Laube,
Dylan Laube.
I mean, even like Braylon Allen didn't he had two really good games basically, and then kind of faded after that. Like there are plenty of ways where they justify their NFL draft capital and don't justify being like fantasy football guys.
Yeah. I wouldn't say there's okay, so what do the Jags need? They need, their defense is not great. Their O-line is bad.
I mean, they kind of just need everything. Like you could argue wide receiver is a need for them even,
I wouldn't say it's a need because they're staring at Gabe Davis wide receiver 4, which is fine. Wide receiver 3, whatever. They might need a tight end, although Bretton Strange, I think, will work out. The thing about Trey Harris and why I'm kind of acquiescing to the market, but he's better be damn good as a rookie if he's going ahead of Christian Kirk and Hollywood Brown.
Yeah. I think I have Christian Kirk and Hollywood Brown ranked ahead of him. Not that that means all that much at the end of the day, but fuck, JJ McCarthy got sniped from me on a Justin Jefferson team in this one. That's annoying. Hate to see it.
Isaiah Bond, I think the hate on him's gone a little far.
I don't know, man. Feels like he probably ends up being a day 3 pick now.
I don't think so. I think he'll be second round.
And that feels pretty unlikely. What makes you feel that way?
Well, I think he's similar to Shedeur in some ways. He's catching flack because he said he was going to run a 4.2-3.40. He ran a totally fine 40, and his GPS data, I think he actually had the fastest miles per hour during the 40. Yeah, he's still clearly fast. He doesn't have the same acceleration. You never know. Guys can still slip on 240s. It's not like 240s is a huge sample size, and it's maybe he actually is a 4.3 dude, and he just got a bad start on both of them.
But he just was not good in college. So it's if you're not that fast and you don't have any production, he got outproduced by 2x by Gunnar Helm, the tight end.
Well, okay. Well, Gunnar Helm outproduced everyone, if you want to say that.
No, not Golden. Golden
had more yards. I think he out-targeted Golden.
He had more catches. Golden had more yards and touchdowns.
Yeah, he had more catch. I mean, but that's a byproduct of the quarterback. When the quarterback is not good, they just throw it to the tight end a bunch. Which, I mean, look, you look at the Texas talent, you're like, damn, dude, why were you so bad?
I mean, I basically am I had so much Bond before because I was the market is just clearly stupid here. And turns out the market was smarter than me. The market knew he was going to run a 4.4, not a 4.2.
I don't know. I could still see in a year where Xavier Worthy just had a lot of success. He's probably not Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy's, perhaps a little bit of a unicorn where we see way more of these guys, John Ross. But
the thing is he's way worse than Worthy. He's like a really shitty version of Worthy.
Well, Worthy was a really good football player. And
yeah,
I could just, there's no shortage of teams that need a field stretcher.
Hey man, I'm hoping you're right because I think Bond was my 3rd most drafted wide receiver before the combine. So I hope the hate has gone too far, but I don't feel
in your shoes it makes sense to pump the brakes, but all of what you're saying is just like not what's happening. 100% what's happening is he spouted his mouth. People hate when you do that and you're wrong because society likes to tear people down.
But do NFL teams care about that? Like, I feel like they just care that like
the NFL teams won't. But I'm saying what the fantasy market is going to do is they're going to be like, this guy needs to fall because he said he'd run this and he ran this. So let's whatever. But I still think he's a decent bet. Obviously, if he doesn't get the draft capital, okay, no, he's not a good bet.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at his production profile. I'm looking at his production profile relative to his college teammates, both at Alabama and at Texas, and looking at what NFL teams have said about him. And I'm like, I don't like, for example, I think a great one is Alec Iomanor, where I was like, oh, this guy, it's like, I don't know, he's kind of bulky, but like he was insanely productive. And it was like, oh, he's going to come to the combine and not be good. And then he went to the combine and was awesome. So Iomanor was like, oh, he's gonna be a day 3 pick, and he's not gonna be. He's gonna be a day 2 pick. I bet he goes ahead of Bond in the NFL draft now. So that's just like some stuff you do want to change your priors on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Alec Iomanor, I have him ranked pretty decently. The buzz is good, but he's drawn very live to be the Luke McCaffrey, Malachi Corley. What if the Chiefs are like, screw it, dude, we're taking Bond too. Give us the Texas duo. Bond is a screen. I think when people don't understand that Xavier Worthy was a screen merchant last year for most of the season. Like he got there on gadget plays, and after Rashee Rice was injured.
Yeah, I mean,
before he was used,
he did score 2 touchdowns in his first ever game, but yes, like guys also. The thing with Worthy that doesn't happen all that often is he like actually he literally got better at football as the year went on. That is like kind of rare, which is pretty cool. I know. I was about to take Bond in the one that I was doing, and then he went 1 pick, and I took.
How are you viewing Restrepo and Royals? I'm not. They didn't like get a ton of buzz.
Restrepo, I moved down. Royals, I moved up a little bit.
I think I'm going to go double vet on this team, actually. On a team that needs wide receiver production, just jamming in Alec Pierce and Wandale seems like good layering, where Alec Pierce can win you a week and Wandale can just hit your lineup.
Yeah. Yeah. I take Wandale on these builds when I'm just like dusted at wide receiver, when I'm like, man, I might just need a guy to get me 7 points some weeks.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see how that wide receiver room turned out. By the way, a nice thing about taking Bryce Young, what's his face? Bryce Young's wide receiver. Yeah, Leggett. Leggett is that all the time Bryce Young will just fall full around to you for the stack. So it feels nice. It might not work out, but okay. So it's Lamar and Jaden, Achane, CMC, Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren. So, I mean, definitely some risk in the running back room too, to the point where I could go 5th, but I probably might not. Juwan Jennings, Travis Hunter, Keon, Kirk, Hollywood, Isaiah Bond, Alec Pierce, Wandale, Kittle, 9. Gonna stop at 2 tight ends. Gonna stop at 2 quarterbacks. And yeah, I mean, the bigger issue for this is like, do I have any home runs at wide receiver? The guys who could be is Hunter, possible Jennings is, possible Keon is. I wouldn't say it's likely. Kirk and Hollywood, if they could simply be what they once were, that's home run-ish. And then, you never know about Isaiah Bond. Wandale in no way, like Wandale is trying to hit a single.
I mean, Bond on this team makes literal perfect sense. Like you just need to take a guy with a wide range of outcomes. Like this team, you probably have already mentally written off. So you just need, like, if you hit the parlay here of Hunter's a wide receiver, Hollywood resigns with Kansas City, Kirk is healthy, Bond is a 2nd-round pick, then like it's a hell of a parlay to hit, but that's what you have to be doing.
Well, Alec Pierce is probably like the best pick on the team as far as like what we want Bond to be.
Catches a 90-yard touchdown from Anthony Richardson in the money weeks.
Again, I wouldn't be building a lot of teams like that. Although if you are going to build them, I think building them in the big board makes more sense a little bit because, man, Stafford going up just because he re-signed is kind of funny. Let's go Braylon Allen. Like Stafford going up in price because he re-signed with the Rams. What did people think was going to happen? That he was going to sit out of football?
I guess,
but yeah, I think it's a little bit better in the big board because it's more likely the big board has wildly priced wide receivers versus post big board, where, you know, if we get Christian Kirk and Hollywood Brown healthy for training camp, where do you think they go in drafts?
Higher. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
Like if the reports are like, wow, Christian Kirk's looking out like Chris Godwin out here.
Christian Kirk was a 14th round pick or a 4th round pick last year.
Flop lag is the sense where, like in poker, let's say you had the 9-8 of spades and the flop comes like 3 diamonds. So it's like not a good flop for you. And then the next hand, the board
Jack
comes,
Queen 7 of spades.
Jack Queen King of spades. So you're like, God damn, why didn't I have these cards?
Or you had pocket 8s. You get re-raised and you fold.
So
and then
basically,
the next flop. Yeah.
Flop lag in the sense of Kirk and Hollywood is that they were not that great of picks last year, but they're great picks this year. You know.
Yeah. And that happens all the time in fantasy football.
Yeah, I agree. The thing about Stafford going higher is, I mean, he's a guy to give you 15 points if you need that. He is very, very rarely giving you 25, 30.
Man, I am drafting an absolute stinker over here. Just like brutal on every level. Not a good team that I've got going on.
Yeah, I just flashed it. You never really feel great with the Anthony Richardson teams are either smashes, but like, I don't know, man.
I was just dead at quarterback. It was one of those ones where sometimes there are these big boards that happen where you just don't get any quarterbacks.
God, some of these are going this one draft is going so quick on me. All right. Darius Slayton is like a nutted pick when you just need a wide receiver.
You have nothing on your screen right now, sir. It's not
really?
It's not
on my screen. I do.
I can't see anything.
I think it's because you're sharing too. It's screwing it up. So take yours down for a second. Are you seeing it now?
I see your screen now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think let's go good old Javonte RB5.
Javonte is I mean he's just cheap Najee Harris. Shitty player who's going to get more money in free agency than everyone wants to believe.
Who do you think is going to sign Darius Slayton? Let me throw out some teams and you choose amongst these teams.
I have one in my head that I think feels like what they'll do.
Okay, the Bills, and I only bring that up because Joe Buscaglia brought him up as a target for them.
Feels like they're happy with Cooper, Shakir, Hollins.
No, they definitely need a burner. Like they don't have one. And honestly, like Darius Slayton's is better than Amari Cooper. No, Keon's not a burner, dude. He's a box you out and win down the field, but he's not a stretch the safety. You know?
Sure, but I just mean in terms of the area of the field he operates in.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. When they don't need to respect your speed, the safeties don't backpedal. Let's throw out the Commanders still. The
Commanders, I think, would just re-sign Dynamic Brown.
Diami, yeah. Let's throw out the Texans. The Texans need some guys. Like
Texans need guys. Yeah, Texans need guys. Mechie's contract's done. I think Woods' contract is done. I'll tell you the team that I think is most likely. I think it's the Cowboys. The Cowboys feel like the Slayton team.
As a Brandon Cooks replacement?
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean, I don't know. So, like, same division. Some guys, people like to do that. I kind of think Slayton, though, like, wants to win. And
yeah, but I mean, when you're Darius Slayton, how much do you want?
I think Slayton's gonna get some respect in the market.
He's gonna get. I'll tell you're not wrong. He's gonna get some respect in the market because this is like one of the worst wide receiver. This has got to be the worst free agent wide receiver class I can ever remember.
Yeah, it's not great. You could see the Patriots just paying Slayton too.
I mean, the Patriots are just like, buddy, we will pay anyone to come play wide receiver for us. Just come on, please. Someone come play the wide receiver position.
I think this is a team that makes sense to take the stab on Shedeur, where it's like 199, Dart's gone, Kyler and Bryce Young. Like, why not, dude? Come on down.
So did I get Mechie's contract wrong?
Well, the weird thing about Mechie is they denied his I think it's his last year.
Yeah, Mechie's in the last year of his contract. I was right.
I think they denied a trade for him. Like, people tried to trade for him and they were like, "Nah, you're staying with us."
That did happen. That is true.
I'm kind of tempted to throw in a fifth running back, but I'm not going to.
It's always tempting at the end because you're like, oh, dude, if Rocket Sanders gets drafted by a team in the 4th round, you know, he's right there. And then the wide receivers, you sit and look and you're like, what would have to happen for Calvin Austin to hit my lineup? And you're just like, there's just no world where he's hitting my lineup.
For this team where I have like so many potential zeros, like Calvin Austin, dude, might be fist pumping.
You know who you should take on this team, buddy, is Jalen Polk.
No, that is a terrible pick. You know, like, look, if Jalen Polk does it, whatever. I think I'm gonna take Diami Brown and Curtis Samuel, like just two vets.
Oh, Samuel's good, but the thing is there's no way that Polk is not a starting wide receiver for the Patriots. There's not a way for them to get out of it.
I don't agree with that. I think they could totally get out of that one.
How do you get out of it? Because 2nd round picks don't make
because
no
money. It wasn't Vrabel's 2nd round pick, especially.
Well, I don't think it was what's his dick's 2nd round pick either. It's the same front office.
Yeah, but the front office, they don't decide who gets on the field. That's the coach.
I guess Polk, you could so you have Booty, you have Douglas. You assume you draft one guy, and maybe you get one free agent.
Dude,
I'm taking him some.
Literally, not even Booty could start.
Oh yeah, Booty is. I mean, that's a guy who could be cut too.
And the other thing is like it could be Baker. The thing about like obviously Baker was not good, but you never really know. Yeah, I think Polk's okay. Like he's an okay stab, mainly with May. Michael Wilson, never really a pick you feel great about, but you have Kyler, whatever.
Yeah, I took Michael Wilson in the one that I did. Big board 95, the lone missing Infinity Gauntlet.
What well we'll show you. I got 2 more picks here and then we'll show yours.
Yeah, we just spoke Kayshon Boutte into existence.
Okay, dude. The idea of Kayshon Boutte sounded good to me as things started. I was like, well, he was their leading guy. And then I just like thought about it more and I'm like, but you know who is going to be a starter again? I think is Douglas. So it's like, okay, Douglas is on the field. Hunter Henry's on the field. Other than that,
it's all up in the air.
All bets are off, you know?
Yeah, the thing about Boutte being that talented of a player is he isn't. He's like totally fine.
he was the best by subtraction.
Absolute default.
Yeah, they were the leading dudes weekly. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think the 2, 4, 12, 2, it didn't feel as bad as I thought it would feel when I hit on Kirk and Hollywood. It could have felt a lot worse. Let me say that. And we'll see.
I agree, but it's like, so I agree with you. Those are the exact guys I would have taken and done the exact same thing that you did. But that is like so our mind playing tricks on us because we like those guys. You know what I mean? It's like, Hollywood's been a good player in fantasy. Kirk's been a good player in fantasy. Like not even saying it's bad, but like there is a reason that the market has them priced there, in general.
Sure. But I don't know. It's like all Nick Westbrook-Akine, Darius Slayton, like all these dudes. I think I'm gonna start ranking some of these guys just straight up over Michael Wilson because, like, what has Michael Wilson done? Westbrook-Akine at least scored 9 touchdowns.
Michael Wilson does have a 2-touchdown game in his career.
Why take the Wandale single on that type of team? Because the hope for that team is that it's simply nutting out at QB, running back, and tight end, which gives you a pretty high floor of points. And you simply might need the 6 to 8 points Wandale gives you. And it's not like Wandale can score 20 points in a week, right? He's got some touchdowns. So yeah, he seems like a good, like, I think it's a mistake to only take the dudes who can go for 2 for 80. Like, you don't want only those type of dudes. You could take a lot of those guys. You could take your Slaytons, your Trey Tuckers, your Westbrook-Akines. But it's nice to mix in some guys who are going to get some targets, can make a guy miss, get a touchdown. Yeah, eating your vegetables and stuff.
You need like, even in a fucking crazy 12 wide receiver build, you still would like to hit some singles. And Wandale like 11th in the NFL in targets last year or something. Like he stinks for the scoring system. He's very unlikely. Although I believe he does have 2 years ago, he hit one of my finals teams with like 19.5 or something, which is really funny.
Yeah, and last year he had like 2 to 3 weeks. Man, Kendre, people just seem bored with. I'm gonna do it again. Why not?
I think round 20 Kendre. Like,
yeah,
you want it. This will never, like, this is not how things play out in actuality. But no team can afford to take a running back less than the New Orleans Saints. Like, literally, no team is more ill suited to spend a draft pick on a running back than the Saints.
So the thing that I like, the reason why I steered towards 4 running backs, other than necessity, is it's hard to get out of your mind that the winner of Best Ball Mania this year pretty much had JT, Chase Brown, and a bag of chips. Like those were their only 2 running backs. The other guys were not good. So this team finishes up
Marshawn Lloyd, right, on the winner. Isn't that right?
Yeah, guys like that, right? Like Lamar and Jaden, HNCMC, Aaron Jones, Warren. Getting Diami and Slayton feels nice because I feel like one of those guys is a commander. Savion Williams taking a swing there. Isaiah Bond taking a swing. Hunter taking a swing.
Savion Williams, man, did the running back drills at the combine.
Yeah, that could be some real nice, getting the Cordero Patterson season. The issue is,
Savion Williams was the first prospect profile I wrote up. Like, I'm very intrigued by him.
I like a 20th round dart throw on probably 60 players more than Jahan Dotson.
Maybe 100 players. I might be down taking. I might take Rob Gronkowski, who just confirmed that he's retired.
I will draft the unknown of Will Fuller, Tank Dell, and Christian Watson before I click Jahan Dotson.
I want to say Dotson got 5 targets the entire time AJ Brown was out last year.
He did score in the Super Bowl, is what is fresh in Cade's mind.
He didn't. Remember, he got tackled.
Oh yeah, it was waved off.
Yeah.
I don't like this. You shouldn't do a lot like this, but it's always fun to build the 2-4-12-2 in a 20-round format. Kittle and also perhaps a little thin. Davis, you want to share the screen here, and we'll see how your mystery team turned out.
Yeah, it's not very good. I got snapped off on every quarterback I needed. So Kyler, Anthony Richardson, Jackson Dart, running backs.
You're going 3-6-8-3 a lot. You're just like jamming that.
Yeah, I just do the normal shit. I just basically this year I'm just like turning back into a sophisticated auto drafter and hoping to advance 16% of my teams. Or I guess in the
don't
big
let them get to you, Davis. Don't let you were close. You were close last year.
I need to do the math. It's not 16%, it's 24%. In the big board. Running back room, Henry at pick 19 is nice. Hampton, Sharbs, B-Rob. B-Rob at pick 126. What's that about? Why's B-Rob falling?
I don't know. Why should he go behind Zach Charbonnet?
Yeah, I mean, they're both like kind of roughly the same thing. Giddens,
they're not.
And then,
one is the presumed starter. The other one is not.
Yeah. I guess that's true, honestly. And Eckler, like, who knows? Eckler's going to be 31. Maybe Eckler's like phased out more. Oh, that is what it is. It's the market thinking that Deebo Samuel is their goal line back. That is exactly what it is. Yeah. Raheem Sanders was I think a sneaky winner of the combine. I thought he was going to run like shit, and he did not. Justin Jefferson, JSN, Waddle, Godwin, Egbuka, Io Manor, Michael Wilson, Darius Slayton, David Njoku, Evan Ingram. And I have been falling for this Michael Mayer thing. There was that report that he's going to get traded. Instead of just taking Mason Taylor and Helm and Arroyo every time, I've been mixing in some Mayer. You could totally tell me it's reasonable that a team is like, you know what? Instead of taking a rookie tight end, I'm sending a 5th round pick out for Michael Mayer.
Yeah, but from the Raiders' perspective, like, you got Chip, you got Pete Carroll. Like, don't they want to establish the run? And isn't that like Michael Mayer 12 personnel? You know,
I mean, they played base so Meyer missed the 6 games with the personal shit last year, and then came back, and he was basically a starter on offense, and he just never got the ball because he plays with Brock Bowers.
No, I know, but he would wouldn't you just keep him to block as the Raiders?
Yeah, that's actually, I kind of forgotten this. 52% for he had 2 games below 60% of the snaps. What the fuck happened in this game against Tampa for him to get 7 targets? I do not remember this game.
Tyler Lockett released. I don't know, man. What that like?
That feels like a Chief.
I don't know, man. Like, I'd rather take a stab on the husk of Hopkins because I at least knew Hopkins was injured last year. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I knew he had a knee injury.
He had the knee injury.
Whatever. Lockett, it just he got banged up too, but it just seems kind of over for him. I'd rather Curtis Samuel. I'd rather risk on him with the turf toe and hope that was that was a bizarre Curtis Samuel season, man.
Samuel is
he has 3 years.
Pretty sure he's under. Yeah, I was gonna say what can they even save any meaningful money by cutting him?
I don't see them.
Not really.
That.
No, they can save at most $400,000 cutting him. Yeah. So he's locked in.
And the thing to keep in mind is that the cap went up more than people anticipated.
Went up a ton, yeah.
Yeah. So I think these Slaytons, these Diami Browns, these Samuels, they never really feel yes. But also just remember how good of a pick Diami Brown was the end of the season. Juwan Jennings was at times. You can get some Juwan Jennings. You're not going to get 50
I was going to say Lockett's obviously not going to have a 47-point game, but he could just have some 7-target games.
He's the one that's tough for me because it just seemed really over for him.
You are 100% right. It did seem really over, but I don't know. He's a good player, you know.
And the man is a people sell houses, realtor,
real estate agent.
Yeah, he's a real estate agent. So he's not gonna push it forever. He's gonna go do that, you know.
This is how old Tyler Lockett is. Tyler Lockett and I attended Kansas State University at the same time. In fact, we graduated Kansas State University the same year.
Wow. Amazing.
That's a lot. That's how fucking old he is, because I'm old. So Tyler Lockett. I imagine how I feel getting up in the morning. Lockett has to feel just as shitty.
Yeah, this is the legal tampering or illegal tampering period. So we're going to get a lot of these guys released, etc. soon here. The tag deadline, I think, passed yesterday too. Sam Darnold officially not tagged. Anything else? Sam Hubbard got released by the Bengals. That's kind of meaningful. They're
caught a touchdown, got injured on the touchdown, retired.
Oh yeah, he's retired. The anything else you want to close on the combine or any NFL news, Davis, before we get out of here?
I'm sure there's lots of stuff to go through, but yeah, I think we covered it.
It's an exciting time. We're going to get free agency here soon, which things I'm looking for Chris Godwin. I'm looking for Sam Darnold. I'm looking for...
Godwin and T are the big ones, because it is not...
T I'm not worried about, because T's like healthy.
I think it's... Well, I'm just saying, like, I think it's like 90% that T goes back to the Bengals, but it's definitely not 100%.
Yeah, if they're just viewing themselves as so far, I guess they might trade him.
Well, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the way the non-exclusive franchise tag works is the base compensation is 2 first-round picks, but what it allows another team to agree to the framework of a contract with Higgins, and then to the Bengals can be like, oh, we want to match that, or we'll let you sign that for a 3rd-round pick or whatever.
No, I think most of what you said is right. I think they have the option to match. And so teams can structure the contract to be so front-loaded
that they don't
or whatever that they don't want to do it, and they get 2 firsts if not. But I don't think I don't know. I don't agree with this like 3rd round.
No, I'm almost 100% sure that's the way the non-exclusive free agent. This is only on the second tag, only on the non-exclusive tag,
and that's the one that T got hit with.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he's a Bengal. But anyway, the other news I'm curious about is Ayuk. Do we get any clarity there, mainly health-wise? Because I don't really see why like Chris Godwin is viewed wildly different than Ayuk injury-wise.
I think your own personal biases towards Brandon Ayuk are impacting. And mine are too, because I don't like Brandon Ayuk.
Just injury-wise, just like the quality of their injuries. And then, obviously, Davante Adams, which I don't know, man. Like, Davante Adams probably isn't too far from being viewed as, like, Cooper Kupp and Deebo. He was good last year, but, like, for how long?
I looked it up yesterday. His yards per route run was actually higher last year than it was the year before when he smashed. It was 2.04, 1.97 the year before. But 2.04, 1.97 back-to-back years is his lowest 2 years since his first 2 years. So he probably is a little bit closer to done than being like one of the 10 best wide receivers in the NFL this year. It'll be pretty... His market will be interesting.
Life comes at you fast, man. I mean, like,
True.
Diggs, Keenan, Deebo, like these were like Keenan goes from like the top guy in fantasy to being traded for a bag of chips. Diggs gets traded for a 2nd-round pick to hurt.
True.
He's still probably one of the best free agents. You know, Amari Cooper, the Bills trading a 3rd-round pick for whatever that was. That doesn't seem like good, right? Like, so life comes at you fast when you are at that age, and you know you probably just you don't train as much anymore, whatever. So, yeah, I mean this is I guess the point. Ayuk had the multi-ligament injury, and Godwin didn't. Godwin was what? I thought he was an ACL, right?
No, Godwin injured his ankle.
Oh yeah, broken ankle.
He's already back running.
Yeah, but I mean, Nick Chubb's back running for 7 years at this point, right? So I don't know. Godwin is 2 years older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amari no good anymore.
I think anyone with eyes also thinks Amari Cooper's no good anymore.
There was like a little bit of hope with Cooper that he was hurt or something.
He scored the touchdown in the first game he played with them. The second game he had like a crazy targets per out run or whatever.
He like never got more than like 50% snaps. Like that is.
I mean, same for Hopkins. Hopkins basically never mattered for Kansas City, and I thought those were huge moves, and they just were not at all.
Yeah, Darius Slayton is like probably just an objectively better football player than both. Anyways, for Davis, for Liam, be sure to like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Check out both streams if you wish. We'll be back next week. We'll have more this week. NFL news ramping up fast and furious. Hit us with the top question in the comments when we end the stream. Write in the comments. What are some topics you want us to hit on for next week's show? We'll read that. We might touch on them. Call out your name. Appreciate you. Enjoy your day.